Mathilde Loisel has always imagined herself an aristocrat, yearning for wealth and admiration despite having been born into working class. Her husband is a low-paid clerk who tries his best to make her happy but has little to give.
I want a bigger house. Why can't I have better things in life?
They were not able to live a luxurious life. However, they were not poor, merely simple. Mathilde's desire was to be rich. She felt irritated, disappointed and sad of not having a large house. Moreover, she desired to have good dresses and lots of jewelry, and these were the only things she loved. One evening, her husband came home with an air of triumph, holding a large envelope in his hand.
Look, here's something for you.
She tore open the paper and drew out a card, on which was printed the words, "The Minister of Education requests the pleasure of Mr. and Mrs. Loisel's company at the Ministry, on the evening of Monday, January 18th. Instead of being delighted, she took the invitation resentfully and muttered,
What do you want me to do with this?
But, my dear, I thought you would be pleased. You never go out, and it will be such a lovely occasion. Everyone wants to go. It is very exclusive, and they're not giving many invitations to clerks."
She stared at him angrily, and said, impatiently,
And what do you expect me to wear if I go?
Calm down, darling. Let's see, Matilda. How much would a suitable dress cost? One which you could use again on other occasions, something very simple.
I don't know exactly, but I think I could do it with 400 francs.
He turned a little pale, because he had been saving that exact amount to buy a gun and treat himself to a hunting trip with his friends. However, he said,
Very well, I can give you 400 francs. But try and get a really beautiful dress.
The day of the party drew near, and Madame Loisel seemed sad, restless, and anxious. Her dress was ready. One evening her husband said to her,
What's the matter? You've been acting strange these last 3 days.
I'm upset that I have no jewels, not a single stone to wear. I will look cheap. I would almost rather not go to the party.
You could wear flowers. They are cheap around this season.
Flowers? No, there is nothing more humiliating than looking poor in the middle of a lot of rich women.
How stupid you are. Go and see your friend Madame Forestier and ask her to lend you some jewels. You know her well enough for that.
Of course. I had not thought of that.
The next day she went to her friend's house and told her of her distress. Madame Forestier took out a large box, opened it, and said to Madame Loisel,
Well, of course. Choose, my dear.
Her name, tried to be introduced. All the cabinet officials wanted to waltz with her. Even the minister noticed her. She danced wildly, forgetting everything in triumph, all this admiration, all these awakened desires, that is so sweet to a woman's heart. She left at about 4 o'clock in the morning. Her husband had been dozing since midnight in a little deserted anteroom with 3 other gentlemen whose wives were having a good time. When they were finally in the street, they called a cab, and went home together. In front of the mirror, she took a final look at herself in all her glory. But suddenly
no.
she uttered a cry. She no longer had the necklace round her neck.
What's the matter?
She turned towards him, panic-stricken.
I can't believe it. I no longer have Madame Forestier's necklace. It's gone.
Oh my, really? But that is impossible.
Madame Loisel is devastated. She cannot believe what's happening. They looked in the folds of her dress, in her pockets, everywhere. But they could not find it.
I'm going back, over the whole route we walked, and to the taxi, see if I can find it.
He left. She remained in her ball dress all evening, without the strength to go to bed, sitting on a chair, with no fire, her mind blank. He went to the police, to the newspapers to offer a reward, to the cab companies, everywhere the tiniest glimmer of hope led him. Her husband, tired of searching, returned at about 7 o'clock. He had found nothing.
We must consider how to replace the jewel.
They did not sleep. That morning, they went from jeweler to jeweler, looking for a necklace like the other. Mr. Loisel immediately borrowed money, asking for 1,000 francs from one man, 500 from another, and much smaller sum from all the others. He gave notes, made agreements, dealt with usurers, with every type of moneylender. He compromised the rest of his life, risked signing notes without knowing if he could ever honor them, and terrified by the anguish still to come. After collecting all the money, he went to get the new necklace, and laid down on the jeweler's counter the exact amount. When Madame Loisel took the necklace back, Madame Forestier said coldly,
You should have returned it sooner, I might have needed it.
From then on, Madame Loisel knew the horrible life of the very poor. The dreadful debt must be paid. They moved to a much smaller apartment far from her life's expectations. Her life turned upside down, she came to know the drudgery of housework, the odious labors of the kitchen. She cooked and washed the dishes, staining her rosy nails on greasy pots and the bottoms of pans. She washed the dirty linen, the shirts and the dishcloths, which she hung to dry on a line. She carried the garbage down to the street every morning, stopping at each landing to catch her breath. Her husband worked day and night, doing accounts for a tradesman, and often, late into the night, he sat copying a manuscript at 5 sous a page. And this life lasted 10 years. At the end of 10 years they had paid off everything, at usurer's rates and with the accumulations of compound interest. Madame Loisel looked old now. She had become strong, hard and rough. Sometimes, when her husband was at the office, she sat down near the window and thought of that evening at the ball so long ago, when she had been so beautiful and so admired. One Sunday, as she was walking in the Champs-Élysées to refresh herself after the week's work, suddenly she saw a woman walking with a child. It was Madame Forestier, still young, still beautiful, still charming. Madame Loisel felt emotional. Should she speak to her? Yes, of course. And now that she had paid, she would tell her all. She gathered all her strength and greeted her.
Good morning, Jean.
The other, astonished to be addressed so familiarly by this common woman, did not recognize her. She stammered.
But madam, I don't know you, you must have made a mistake.
No, I am Mathilde Loisel.
Oh, my poor Matilda. How you've changed.
Yes, I have had some hard times since I last saw you, and it's all because of you. You remember that diamond necklace that you lent me to wear to the ministry party? Well, I lost it.
What do you mean, Matilda? You brought it back to me.
I brought you back another exactly like it. And it has taken us 10 years to pay for it. It wasn't easy for us, we had very little. But at last it is over, and I am very glad.
Madame Forestier was stunned. She cannot believe what she just heard.
You say that you bought a diamond necklace to replace mine?
Yes, you didn't notice then? They were very similar.
Oh, my poor Matilda. Mine was an imitation. It was worth 500 francs at most.
Matilda turned pale. She cannot believe how miserable her life turned out for nothing.